And we're back. I was getting frustrated with that big butterfly, so I decided just to go ahead and start over and shrink it. So I just drew half of this at the top. I actually kind of made up quite a bit of it. I was going off of this one, but I love when butterflies have eyes or something look like eyes. And you all know this, I know, you'll remember they have those eyes as protection because it's camouflage and makes other animals think that it has a bigger face. They also blend into their natural surroundings really well. So abdomen, thorax, head, little tiny. Then you're going to cut it out and leave plenty of room on this side. And you'll see why in just a second. Doesn't have to be cut perfectly, just cut it out. For now, okay? And I got as detailed as I could. I still wanted to get these kind of, you know, lacy, subtly formed edges. There's only so much you can do, and you have to have a really sharp tip on that to get very detailed. Now, this is kind of a tough part. You're gonna have to fold it in half, but I've already drawn quite a bit of the body. I would say half is actually like here. Okay, if you fold it too far out, it doesn't work. So try, and you kind of have to look underneath as you fold it. And I'm trying to get right in the center of that bug body, okay? Once I think I'm there, I'm gonna push that edge down really hard. Let's see how close I got. We'll see. It's close enough, I can always make it work more later. It's really important when you do this that you have the charcoal side on top. You're gonna fold it like this, and then you're gonna use your 2B pencil, and I'm gonna press really hard using my art muscles to transfer it. So what's gonna happen, because that charcoal is really soft, and this pencil, this graphite pencil, is a lot harder than the charcoal. As I do that, oh, what? It's like a stamp, it's showing up on the other side. That's how it's gonna be perfectly symmetrical. So whether yours looks exactly like your reference or not, doesn't really matter. You can be a little bit more inventive. That body turned out pretty well. That's a good place. So now I can make it even more symmetrical. I'm gonna pull this out a little bit. Sometimes it's a little smudged, right? So I can go back in and touch these things up, make these lines a little bit darker, okay? So that's my cool trick about how to make your butterfly look completely symmetrical. Uh-oh, we just got a little fuzzy, little fluffy over there. I didn't go all the way out, so I can look back and forth and make any little changes I want. And you know, when they fly, they're not exactly perfectly symmetrical anyway. This guy looks like he's going someplace, which I like. I can give it a little bit more value in places. Then you can take your blending stump or even just your finger and just barely touch. You don't want to get rid of everything, okay? You want to keep your dark lines for sure, and if you feel like something's going away too much, feel free to redraw it. Then you can come in with your white charcoal pencil and pull out all the areas you want to really pop out, okay? So I can work back and forth on this for a while. I'm not going to, because I want you to get to move on. This is still a pretty big butterfly, so it's gonna need to be in the foreground. And I'm gonna really take my time carefully cutting it out, so I'm right along the edge. I don't want it to become too simplified now that I've worked so hard to make it really as detailed as possible. You know, one way to create the sense of depth is by having overlapping things, also by letting things get bigger as they get closer. We've talked about that already in terms of your trees and mountains. I'm actually just gonna cut off the antenna, ouch, because we can easily draw that back on after we collage this into your piece. I find that when I'm cutting small things, it's better to cut close first. You can also cut in towards it, like cut the negative space out instead of the wing itself. Sometimes that's a little easier to manage, especially with such small things. And I'm smudging it as I'm doing this, no big deal. The image is still there. I can come back and touch it up after I have glued it down. Now remember, when you're using glue, you always want to have something on the surface so you're not just putting glue directly onto, you know, the kitchen table, the dining room table. This is bothering me that this isn't dark enough right there. I'm going to touch that up really fast. So I have more work to do here. I'm not quite there, but we're getting closer. So I've got this piece of paper down that I can glue on. So there's a side I pressed on, there's my new side to make it symmetrical. And then I'm gonna grab my Elmer's glue, and you wanna make sure you get a lot on the background. That's why we need to do it on paper, because you're gonna go all the way off the edges. You don't want those little corners popping up, okay? So move this out of the way. Here's my drawing. So I want this to be really close. I like the way that one's going that way, that one's going that way. I don't think I want it on the tree. I think it looks humongous that way. So we're just gonna say it's flying like down here. And I like overlapping a couple things. So I kind of like this, like it's snaking around a little bit up to my moon. I think that's a good composition. After the glue is dry, so you can wait a minute if it's a little lumpy and bumpy, I'm gonna go back and kind of redefine my edges, put back any details I might have lost in over handling it, and I can really look back and forth and kind of see, oh yeah, those show up better on that side. I need my little scalloped edge there. I can redraw his antenna, okay, and his head, which I might put a little light on in a minute. He's gotten kind of dark up there. I like that shape over here. I'm kind of losing it on the other side. I come back and touch that up. Okay, and I'm gonna want a lot of contrast and a lot of detail just because it's in the foreground so close, right? You can also put a little bit of shadow underneath that top wing showing that it's overlapping. So we want to flesh out those little edges, make sure they're standing out really well, make sure our values are really wide range, so dark and light and everything between, kind of pat it again to blend. And if there's any place I need to come back into and add a little bit more white, like I said, that head was kind of disappearing, so I can grab my white pencil and, you know, put a little bit of light there if I need to, bring that back out. Anything that you want to be highlighted or brighter, come back and touch those places with this. Now, it's already kind of happening that this is a really light one and it's against a dark background, so I don't have to do much about that. This guy, I've actually lightened around him a little bit just so he stands out more, or she stands out more. Okay, I'll do the same thing with this one. All right, so you don't want to be too obvious. You don't want it like glowing like the moon necessarily, unless it's a lightning bug, which would be really fun. But you do want to have it popping out. Okay, so this guy's definitely not having a problem with that. In fact, it probably could use a little bit darker value on it in places, and I want to outline the edges really well. So this is gonna be my Big Daddy butterfly in the foreground. So again, on this part, you can look at the images I've put up for you, print them if you can. If not, you can just work straight from your iPad, that's fine. You can use the image I gave you. I'm pretty sure most of them are really big, and that's kind of frustrating. I was having a hard time because my demo, I have to work so closely. I couldn't get away from it. I like to draw from a distance, you know. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. And we have our nighttime skies with glowing insects in the moon. I can't wait to see what you do. Happy drawing, and I'll see you soon.